Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. I messed up with the engine build. I forgot to install something internally, which is unfortunate, but it's all a matter of learning experience. What I forgot to install is in this sweet container that I bought from Jake's Performance. This is the oil galley plug. So what had happened was, this is my first engine build, and I took the engine apart, and I didn't take this out. And I sent it to the machine shop, and the machinist came back with a box of components, like leftover bolts and stuff like that, and this was in the box. But I was in such awe because this is my first engine, and I'm like, oh, a race car. I wasn't paying that much attention, and what had happened was I was messing around in the garage, and I looked in that box and I found this, and I sat down and I found out what it was. I know exactly where it goes. So I ended up just buying a new one because they recommend you replace it, and it came, the kit, I think it was like 17 something bucks. Let me know if you want the link in the description. And it included the freeze plugs and the plug on the opposite side. So you might be wondering where this goes and why I have to disassemble the block. This goes behind the rear main seal. So what has to happen is I need to take off the front, take off the flywheel, take off the clutch, drop that off, and then the plug on the other side goes directly where the notorious harmonic balancer is, behind the timing chain cover. So what I'm going to do is probably have to pull the harmonic balancer off, which is going to suck, and then pull all the stuff off the other side like the flywheel, and then I'll pop this in, put the other thing on. Another thing that needs to happen is I actually need to drill a hole into the block. Now you're like, whoa, you're crazy, why are you doing that? So with this oil pan and this application it's going into, it doesn't necessarily have the correct clearances to run the stock location for the oil filter. So Canton Racing sells a kit that they include this oil pan or oil filter adapter, and what it is on one side it's two holes with two larger holes that fit O-rings inside of it. And then the other side there's you can fit dash 12 fittings, and you can run 2 AN lines and then 2 an oil filter. So the reason why I need to drill a hole into the block is due to the fact that when I connect this in, for some reason there isn't one of these holes. So I need to drill and tap it and make sure that the threads will match up. So I bought a titanium tap set to drill into this iron block. Hopefully that works out. And to talk about this a little more, I ended up buying, because there's a lot of oil relocation kits here and there, but I wanted something guaranteed, and this one I bought from SickyRacing.com. And it comes with AN lines and stuff like that, and it seems to work. But the only thing was, this is dash 12 fittings, and this is dash 10. So I needed to buy an adapter, and the adapter needed to be the flared ones for dash 10, and then the port ones on the other side. And I looked around, and they were actually super expensive. But finally, I'm like, oh, you know what? Let's see if Canton Racing, the people who sell this bracket, has them, and of course they do. And they were nice enough to send me a set of new O-rings for the actual this, because I lost them. But they sell them, and they fit great. They're made of aluminum. They're pretty rad. So they're gonna go in there like so. Let me just put this in here. They're gonna go in there like so. This is gonna bolt to the bottom of the block, and then those AN lines are gonna come up, and it's going to go into the filter. Another order of business, this is something I saw online that Sicky Racing sold, But I'm like, I can just make that, that's dumb. So for the oil filter, stand by. They had a bracket kit for vehicles that will not be running AC like mine. And right here is where the AC compressor mounts. Now what I was thinking was, why don't I just make they had a bracket that mounts right here, and then you can mount your oil filter and it sticks out the front. And I'm like, oh, that's a pretty rad idea. But it was like $100 and something bucks, billet aluminum. I'm like, it's just holding something. It's not like it has a load on it. So I got some scrap steel from a special place, and I'm going to drill the holes for here, and then drill the 3 holes for the mounting bracket, and then it'll just mount. And it'll sit just like that. I think that'd be pretty rad. And then I can just, when I'm changing my oil, I can just reach into the engine bay, pop this off. Look at that speed. Pop this off, slap a new one on, make it somewhat easier. But yeah, that's it. The first order of business is probably going to drop the flywheel, drop the clutch. Really don't want to, but I'm going to pull the harmonic balancer off. I'll drop the oil pan also, which should be interesting because I did all that shit. Whatever. It's all in the learning process. But all of these boxes have a home on this engine. And this PBR has a home for someone else. But my goal for this weekend is to get this car. No, I'm sorry. My goal for this weekend is to get this engine and that car. And I want this engine to be done. I want it to be wired, which I have the wiring harness. Hopefully it works. And I want it to be able to turn over this weekend. I know that's not going to happen because I'm waiting on one sensor, unfortunately, but that's fine. But that's the goal. That's the goal for this weekend. I have Monday off. Today is Saturday. And then Tuesday, I don't have to go to work until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So it should be pretty rad. Oh, also, a small disclaimer. If you plan on purchasing this oil pan from Canton Racing designed this oil pan for this application, and also to run it's either a sensor, a low pressure sensor, or the accumulator setup. There is a hole on the side, a threaded hole, of course, for that. And if you don't want to run that and you're just going to buy this oil pan, make sure you buy the plug. This is a 10mm plug straight from Canton Racing. It's like $9. I was really just going to get a bolt and put it in there, but I'm like, I might as well buy what is designed for it. I don't want to mess with it, you know? So let's start tearing this thing apart again. Welcome. So this is what I was thinking. So I have to put in this oil galley plug, which I have right here. It's this little plug that if I didn't have in there, it wouldn't be, or the engine would not be able to accumulate oil pressure. It's located directly behind the timing chain cover. Now, here is the predicament. I don't necessarily want to take off this harmonic balancer because then I'll have to track down a new harmonic balancer bolt, which I know that the local auto report store does not have and the Chevy dealer does not have in stock. So what I'm going to attempt to do, and if it doesn't work, that's fine, I'll pull it off anyway, is I will remove these 10mm bolts and then the oil pan, and I want to see if I could rotate, very carefully, rotate the timing chain cover to expose where this goes. We will see how it goes. I'm going to do it very carefully so I don't mess up the timing chain seal. But if it doesn't work, I'll take a step back, rip this puppy off. I got the claw for it and everything, and then I gotta go down the street to get the installer. But yeah, if this works, I will be thrilled. All right, let's continue. Little tech tip. If you plan on doing an LS engine build, buy an abundance of 10mm, 13mm, and 15mm sockets. I lose them all the time. I just found it. I've been looking for it for the past 30 minutes, so I can take this off. Just a little tech tip. So while I was shopping online and looking into purchasing an oil relocation filter, I found one on Sicky's website, and basically what it is you buy the oil relocation bracket or the filter adapter, and they have this bracket you can buy, and theirs is made of billet aluminum, which is pretty rad, and it bolts directly where the AC compressor is. But I said to myself, I'm like, that's simple. It's just you can just get a piece of steel and have it bolt in the same spot, and it serves the same purpose. So that's what I did. So I found some scrap steel at work, brought it home, cut it up with a grinder, drilled some holes in it, and then this is the result right here. So I'm just using 2 bolts, unlike the Sicky one. They use all 3, but it doesn't matter. It's not going anywhere. I need to purchase some shorter bolts, and obviously I'm not using zip ties, but that's basically it. So engine's upside down right now, but if I ever need to change my oil, I can just reach into my engine bay, grab this, unscrew it, and that's it. I don't have to worry about reaching under the engine next to the oil pan, jacking it up. I can just reach under, drain it, and then slap a new filter on, and it's easy as that. So I think this came up pretty rad. If anyone has any questions on how I made it, put a comment and I'll go in depth one time, but it's pretty straightforward. So just let's keep going. All right, so here is where the oil filter bracket is bolted onto. So here it is. Here are my adapter fittings. So this side going into the actual adapter is -12 port style. So that's this side. And then this side is the flared -10, which bolts to the AN lines on the Sicky Racing, I don't know, the oil relocation kit for LS products. So I'm not going to torque it down just yet. Sits on the engine just like so. Then they give you longer bolts, which go through yonder. And those get torqued in with Allen keys. So, time lapse. That looks pretty rad. And I'll probably, on the final product, I'll figure out a way to route these a little neater. And I'll wrap some zip ties, keep them together, make it look a little more legit, something like that, you know what I'm saying? But that looks pretty cool. I'm pumped that I saw that bracket online, and I don't know, that didn't cost me a dime to make that compared to $130 for billet aluminum. Yeah, okay. There's no need for that on a product like this. So, yeah, pumped. Let's keep going. So after getting closer to the end of the build for the engine, I ended up looking into my water pump that I had that came off of this engine initially. Now I decided to invest in a new one, which was actually cheaper than I thought. And I even thought about doing a electronic fuel pump, but not a lot of people gave good reviews for them for this engine online, so I decided not to. So I just invested, this is an AC Delco replacement for the stock water pump, and it looks 10 times better than the original one. So I'm gonna slap this on. I gotta rob this part off of the old one, which is all rusty and just doesn't look like, why would you put like something super gross on a nice engine, you know? So slap this on, and then I'm gonna go into the accessory setup that I'm running on my build. A lot has happened over the past couple of days, as you can tell. So the motor, for the first time, has been in the car. It fits really well. I had to massage with a hammer the transmission tunnel a little more. So it's out right now, and I needed to set up my T56 LS 240SX clutch master cylinder conversion kit, which requires you to replace and put on a different clutch master cylinder. This is made by Siki. A little disclaimer: if you plan on doing this, you need to have your transmission separate from your engine. So that was something that I didn't know prior to doing it. So my transmission was bolted to the engine, about to go back in. I decided, I was like, you know what, before we put it in the car, we should probably look into doing this. Got into it and realized that if you can't just plug it in, you have to separate the transmission from the bell housing and hook up the lines to the actual, or you have to remove the fittings on the slave cylinder and replace them with what they provided. Right now, the engine would be in the car, but I accidentally snapped one of the AN fittings on the line that goes from the stainless steel braided hose from here to the actual slave cylinder. So I have to order a replacement, and today's Sunday, so no one's open. Been really diving in on pulling more stuff out of the car. Right now, I'm pulling the brake lines that were stock. The previous owner also drifted this car with a stock 4-cylinder, and he didn't run a dual caliper setup in the back. So what he had done was he cut the line cut the brake lines halfway through the car, and basically just like bent it up so no fluid would leak through. And he basically just ran front brakes and then had a hydraulic e-brake run into the back, which now I'm stuck with redoing all the brake lines, which is fine because the brake lines go up across the top of the firewall, and it is an eyesore in my eyes. So I'm replacing that, and I'm going all down the car and removing all of the brackets and stuff that aren't required. I finally figured out a way to run the switches that I want to run. I'll go into it probably in the next video. But now we're on the final stretch. The engine is 100% done. All it needs to be done is plugged in, plumbed with a fuel line, and then I can slap it in here and turn it on. I removed the tank in the back of the car because I kept running into clearance issues with my floor jack, and I planned on upgrading the fuel pump, so I decided just to go for a fuel cell. It will more than likely be an Aeromotive Stealth 340 fuel pump inside of a fuel cell. I'm pretty sure Summit Racing sells something like that. I'll run that. I'm going to put that in the trunk. What else? Finished ripping out everything behind the dash. The actual door panels are out. What was the last one? And just little odds and ends, like the old seatbelt setup and stuff like that. So we're getting there. We're almost there. And hopefully this thing will be running. So before the engine goes back, I need to do the fuel lines. I need to do brake lines. It would just be easier with the engine out, and find that AN fitting that broke, and then I should be good. But stay tuned in the next coming weeks. Also, a reason I haven't been posting as frequently is I recently at work switched to a different schedule, so I'm working evenings instead of mornings, and it's just something I'm getting used to in my spare time. So hopefully in this later coming weeks I will be pushing more and more on getting this build close to being done. But thank you for watching. I really appreciate all the feedback. Let me know if you have any questions or you want to see anything specific. But yeah, thanks for watching.